half of the problem is, when we're looking at the country, half of the problem is the racism. The other part of the problem is we have to get ready to move. And when I say have to get ready, you can't move into a different realm. God's asking you to receive something we haven't positioned ourselves to receive. He says, study to show yourself approved. When Queen Elizabeth was realized at some point in time she might become queen, because her father, some things happened and her father became king, and she realized at 9 or 11, whatever time old she was, I might become queen. I need to be all about that. I need to be learning how to be a queen. And so she started, she at that young age, she started figuring it out, and she started preparing herself to be queen as soon as she knew that her father was king. And it shifted. Now, if God calls you and calls you out and tells you you are a freed people, you are a this, you are that, you're the salt of the earth, we should be preparing for that office. That's part of faith. By faith, by faith, by faith, Abraham, by faith, David, by faith, Daniel, by faith, by faith, by faith. Action, words, faith without works is dead. If God says, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something of this, I'm going to make you into a great nation, then you start thinking, how do great nations function? How do they get ready? I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. It's going to hurt. Hold on to the chair. Illiteracy should not be in the Black community based on the fact people died. Some of us died to be able to read. Not knowing how every single thing that affects your freedom, you should know how every single thing works to ensure that you don't ever go back into a substandard situation. You don't depend on people to keep you free. You keep yourself free. How do I keep myself free? It's right there in books. Books. Study to show yourself approved. How do banks work? We got to have a bank. How do schools work? We got to have schools. How does this work? Even if you're integrated or not integrated, and this is not about color, because this happened with women of all nationalities. This happened with every color. You have to, and it's a human nature. The reason, and this is a fault of the Catholic Church, but the reason they didn't want people reading the Bible, because they didn't want them thinking independently. That's what the difference between Protestant and Catholic. Catholic, everything goes through the priest. You can't read the Bible yourself. He tells you what the Bible says, tells you, and gives you little tidbits on paper, but he doesn't give you the whole Bible. Protestant, here's the whole word, read it, figure it out, read it. There's a whole manual, read it. Study to show yourself approved. A workman rightfully dividing the word of truth. We have not positioned ourselves and asked for like you really want it. Now, I don't mean one or two, and I love George Bush too, and I love all of them. I really, truly, I don't hate anybody. But the point is, when you planning to go somewhere, you start figuring out how to get there. You start reading. You start asking questions. You start getting in the presence of God. After having done all you can do, you read on your time and you get in the presence of God with what you already know. And he takes what you have in your hand, what you have in your mind, what you have in your heart, and then he adds to that. But you don't sit there waiting like he's going to come pick you up and then pat you down, pat you on the head and hand you. It's not going to happen like that. Every single child that has been born in an oppressive, I'm talking Native American, Chinese American, Japanese American, women that have been oppressed. I'm talking about if you are not white male privileged, that you fall into this category. You should have made it your business to know what is going on and how systems work, because you got to understand freedom costs. It's not free. What does freedom cost? Freedom costs me staying up on every law that is attached to me. Every law that's going to affect the children, going to affect the ability for human beings to function freely in this here United States. I need to know what that is. And every time something moves on any law attached to what is affecting me, I need to know what that is. That's called being a watchman on the wall. That's a study to show yourself approved. That means you pick up and something changes. Your eyeballs is right on the paper. What changed? What did they change? How did they change? Okay. What something else changed? And you start watching the laws like that, they'll start paying attention. Nobody gonna sneak nothing up on you because you're paying attention. Now he's talking about right, and I was not Okay. Vivian said the word, which was I was going to talk about it anyway, but here you go. When they want to have people want to have a meeting, that you have the police department in different states want to sit down with Black Lives Matter or whomever. It's no one group represent everybody, but whoever. They want to have on-site observations of things. You have to be in the meetings for something to change. You can't leave your freedom at on instant deposit. Here, take it and just let me know what I'm supposed to do. No, no, no. You turn that TV off and pick up that paper or pick up something and start reading and find out what am I supposed to be doing? How do I change this system? This system that is killing me, why don't I pick up a book and figure out how to change it? Why don't I call my congressman and my state assembly people and my state senators and find out how to change it? And you tell evil to step back. Knowledge is without people will perish for lack of knowledge. It's right there. My people will perish for lack of knowledge. The enemy's scheming all the time. Your job is to know what's going on. Literacy is part of the weapon of freedom. Literacy is part of the right of the children of God. If you think it's a joke, look at we talked about it last week. How many major industries are owned by Jewish people? That's your book. That's your blueprint right there. Banks. You don't have to ask nobody to open a bank account. Why don't you open a bank? Because why? Why? Do you have a reason? Because education is almost free. You can practically get a PhD over the internet. There's no reason that everybody's children are not literate. You need to be highly. Excuse me. Let me make it better. You don't need to be literate. You need to be highly literate, because literacy is one of the paths to keep you free. You don't like prison privatization? How did it get that far down the street with you sitting here in these here United States? How did these things happen? Nobody's stopping. Nobody's in charge. There's no leader going to come. You independently need to know. Nobody came and told Harriet Tubman, Harriet, now when you get to the north, we have talked to city council, everybody, we have talked. We want you to come back out the north, go back to the south and get some more people, Harriet, and go back up to the north and free them. We've all voted, Harriet, and we think you should do it. No, nobody told her that. You know who told Harriet Tubman to be Harriet Tubman? God told Harriet Tubman to be Harriet Tubman. What is God telling you to be? Who is he telling you to pick up a book and read about it and figure out how to do it? Who is he telling you to free? Who are you going to clear the pathway for? Who are you going to step into position for? He wants to give you freedom, or can you? What's that movie said? You can't handle the truth. The truth. I want to know the truth. You can't handle the truth. Can you? You can handle the truth. You have to be part of the authoring of the narrative on what's the next truth. The Word of God and the professional documentation on what area He has put you in and put you in charge of, and the wall He has you watching. We should be some of the smartest people on the planet after what we have gone through for 300 years, 400 years. And they're not going to, and see the problem, the reason you're having trouble with all this and people not recognizing, because slowly the suffering of Native American people, the suffering of Chinese people, the suffering of Jewish people, the suffering of African American people slowly gets watered down in the history books, so you don't feel so bad about it. You know what? You're not going to change till you really feel bad about it and say, I have to turn from my wicked ways. It was wickedness that caused people to be slaves. Wickedness. And then there's a remnant of the smell of that wickedness. We didn't get it out at the core. It's just still lingering around. And everybody say, oh, don't that smell good? No, it don't smell good, because it's not nobody. It's the knee ain't on your neck. So you looking at it trying to rationalize what it is. It doesn't smell good. It's ugly. Hatred is horrific in any shape, form, or fashion. And we are too beautiful of a country. And I'm going to tell you, I was so excited to see everybody out there marching, because they get it. But when this all starts to cool off, somebody's, and you take it personally on yourself to figure out, how do I change that policy? How do I affect change in my environment? Because if I don't run ahead, write the vision and make it plain so that them that come behind me can read it, this ain't free. This freedom thing we doing, it's not free. It's not free. You don't read, don't write, and pretending like it's okay to just watch television and watch soap operas and get on the internet and hoo-ha about Facebook, and your freedom is going right down the drain because you're not on top of the stuff that's affecting you. What's happening in your school districts? What's happening with the children of color? You should be on the PTA. You should be and when they said, see, this is the thing. When somebody says, let's sit down and talk, you need to sit down and talk. You hit it from all sides. You hit it from the demonstrating. You hit it from the Congress. You hit it from the Senate. You hit it from the Supreme Court. Sit down there and talk to them. You got to have transparency, and you have to have independent. This thing is insidious. This hatred. Let me say this. Okay. You can do the wrong thing so long that it seems normal. Hold on 1 second. For me, let's find out what that noise is. Oh, okay, hold on. You can do the wrong thing and watch the wrong thing so long that it becomes normal. When they were burning Jewish people in the concentration camps, and all that smoke was going out of them chimneys in the village, in the city that they were having it in, those city people said, oh, we didn't know that was humans. We thought they were just baking. You ain't that much bread in the world. They're baking people. They're killing people. And they pretended not to see it because it's better, it's easier. Hammond I hope he teaches on this. I hope he comes on the prayer line and teaches on it. We it's easy to turn away, like the rabbi and the priest did with the Good Samaritan. Turn away. Don't look at it. It's too ugly. I don't want to hear it. Just go back for a minute, because see, freedom is not free, and you have to be aware. Watching on the wall means when a rabbit moved from one rabbit hole to the next, you on it. And I'm going to tell you, God pays attention to that kind of attentiveness. If we are that attentive to the move of God and that attentive to the circumstances, it ain't a demon that's going to move and pop his head up. We're not going to be on it and call down resources from heaven and knock that thing out way before it gets to be on paper. Let me tell you something. Some of the stuff we're looking at was voted in. That means, hold on. You see, when it's getting good, because I start getting. I'm just gonna mute everybody. Don't worry about it. We're gonna finish it. When it starts getting good, when the enemy, I'm just gonna ask you a question, and I'm asking personally myself. I'm asking you personally because it starts with one person. It's not them people, those kids. Every nationality. I was so proud. This thing in America, it's not a black thing or a white thing or a green or purple thing. It's an American thing. I was so happy to see every nationality out there walking. That man did not realize when he was dying on that ground, the whole world, they're demonstrating in Australia. They have it. It was on the front page in our Iran newspaper. God, thank you, Jesus. The world has waken up. And this is our opportune time. The love of God. They demonstrating it. I saw so many quotes by Martin Luther King held by white children, 20-year-olds. And I said, thank you. You get it. So you're not going to get it till you imagine what it is to be at the bottom of that slave ship, till you see yourself on the ground. That's when you start to understand what this feels like. And you should have empathy for everybody, every single nationality. It just so happens the plight of human rights has been primarily resting on the shoulders of African-American people. We paved the way for a whole bunch of people to come behind and talk about it. But it's a whole lot of civil rights that we are fighting. It's not just black civil rights. It's civil rights, period. If I don't speak good English, that doesn't mean you treat me like I'm an animal. If I happen to work in the field, I'm a human being. If I'm picking beans or picking oranges, I'm a human being. It doesn't give you a right to. There's some things that when you have suffered from something, you look at somebody else and you go, oh, I know what that feels like. And then you have a different reaction because you're not displaced. You're not afar off and try to rationalize dysfunctional behavior. How many times, and I'm just going to go bring it back. It was a time in the 60s when a man could literally beat his wife up, and it was the degree of beating as to how, if he went to jail or not. And the police officer, these are black women, white women, anybody else. The man could beat you, and then the police would say, well, you must have said something to make him mad. Ma'am, don't make your husband mad. And then you had to take it. And you had no rights. You didn't own property. See, they understand. You didn't own property. Your name wasn't on it. It was an act of Congress for you to own the business, for you to have a house, put your name without your husband taking your money. This, this is human rights. So what I'm saying is that you need to study to show yourself approved. You need to pay attention. He that reads the book best is going to write the laws the best, is going to write them, and whoever is not reading and paying attention is going to be subjected to the one that is putting the stuff on paper. So it is your job, it is your duty as a man or woman of God. If you plan to be wealthy, you need to be reading some books, you need to be asking some questions, and you need to figure it out. You know what? You don't have to. Let me tell you how I'm gonna give you an example. I mean to get all in your business, but when you have to know how to call up the chain of command. You have to know how to investigate and get some information. You have to know how to make the ones on the bottom line act right by the laws and the rules that are already established. The laws are on the books. But if you don't pick up something and say, it says here on the Third Amendment, it says here in the Second Amendment, it says here such and such, you ain't got a case. You have to know. You can't even plead your case when you don't read. Our children, every nationality, if America's going to be America, if we're going to have freedom, one nation under God, indivisible, if we want to have God moving, the fruit of the Spirit is the divine human activity. The fruit of the Spirit is the divine interaction. We can't institute and put it in and talk about it and promote it if we're not in there in the meetings when they're having those conversations. You can't, because see, the enemy knows he's coming from stop looking at the physical. Don't look at the flesh and blood. Look at the principalities, the high places. The enemy has an agenda. He does not want people to come together. He does not want people to dream. He does not want people to have freedom and hope. He doesn't want people to see the sunlight. He wants to go behind the dark places and be creviced and crusty in people's hearts and have them do evil. That's what the enemy's agenda is. And if he can get a whole system to turn dark and then another part of the system to be quiet, case in point, and this is how it had to be done. Just like you see a bully. Just go back to the bully situation. You have a victim, you have a bully. The bully does that because you have standby onlookers. Everybody just stands by and watches and takes out the camera and watches somebody being completely victimized, and nobody has the courage or the fortitude or the character to say, stop it. And then they stop, to hold them back. Nobody has the fortitude. So the bully keeps getting built up because he's got some onlookers and he's got a few little crony friends. And that's the dynamics of being a bully. People watching. And if nobody watched, they spoke against it and they support it and say, we don't tolerate that, then bullies can't do that. So you have a whole system where you have bullies, people that have murder on their mind, and then you have people watching, too scared to say something. So evil flourishes when good people are afraid to open up their mouth and talk. Not only should you open up your mouth, you need to articulate some things. When you see something go wrong, you need to ask, sir, what is your name? Do I have ask, what's your name? What department are you from? Ask. And let me explain something else. When you get back to your car or when you get back wherever, you call down, you talk to see people at the top don't want to hear about the ignorance of the people at the bottom. You call and you say, may I speak to the chief of such and such? And if the chief don't respond, there is a congressman that will. If the congressman doesn't respond, there is a media that will. This is an open system. People pay attention, but you have to be awake. You have to pay attention. And ignorance is the beginning of enslavement. If you do not read about it in the books, if you're not paying attention to what laws are keeping you free, then laws will be gone and you won't even know it. Oh, sir, you can't. Are you? What color are you? You're black. Are you green? You're purple. You're brown. Okay, you guys got to go over there. When did that law change? Oh, it changed 2 years ago. Why did? Because you wasn't reading. You didn't read. You didn't pay attention. You weren't listening. I'm not talking about listening to the news. I'm talking about asking what laws changed, what is going on. Communicating with your Congress people, showing up at the meetings, showing up at the city council meetings, showing up at the board of director meetings. Their live stream, read it, pay attention and watch and comment. Pay attention to what people are saying. They'll tell you a lot if you stop. If you stop talking and listen, you'll hear where people are coming from. And people slowly get people in position, and then they start changing stuff. We have to be in those meetings. We have to be doing that stuff, being very proactive. This stuff's not new. It just triggered something. Black men been dying for years. Let me say it like this. They've been lynched. They've been hands, feet chopped off. They've been beat. Everybody, black people in general. I'm going back to my point. The horrific hideousness of slavery, the horrific hideousness of Chinese people building the railroads, and then some of them dying and however they were treated. The Japanese encampment, the Native American, the Trail of Tears. You keep that in the history books, because see, we got to remember, greed in human life should not be the cost of it. If you don't remember where you came from, if you don't remember what this country or people are, not just this country, but people are capable in general, if somebody's not watching and paying attention, they will repeat it and they will have the whole thing. Don't forget the history. Pay attention to the history so that you can see it. So I do not want to be that. I got that. We have that in our history. So let's go in a whole another direction. Let's understand what happened. Because if you water it down, it gets forgotten about, and then it gets repeated over and over again. Why are you guys so upset? I don't understand the problem. That's that naivety. You don't know what the history is. But see, I need you to see the history. I need you to know what happened, not to be angry, but you need to be real. Nobody has the privilege of living in a bubble. You need to live in reality so we don't repeat it. This thing called freedom is precious. The fact that you see all nationalities walking up and down the street is a wonderful thing. It's a blessing before God. I just broke down in tears yesterday when I saw so many kids. They get it. They get it. They get it. It was not in vain. And I was so grateful. Now, the other part is somebody's going to toss you the ball. You catch it. Don't act there. I say it again. Say it. I was working with Maxine Waters. She was identifying money in state, money in the federal level, money over here. It's money everywhere. And here in the United States, they got programs and grant money and opportunity money for everything you could think you want to do. I want to save the ducks. We got a grant for that. I want to save red balloons. We got a grant for that too. They got grants all over the place. You have to do a grant. You have to do a grant application. You have to write the grant. You have to put the organization together. You have to do your part. And so you have to be able to receive. You want banks? Build banks. You want schools? You need after-school programs? Build after-school programs. Ain't nobody stopping you. You could do it yourself. Empowerment. I can. See yourself as a great person. I thought I was famous in the first grade. I wasn't, but I did think I was. I don't know what in my brain happened. And I know Oprah thought the same thing, but I don't know what happened. But I thought, I'm going to do something great in the world. And I thought that at first grade. And I just couldn't figure out why nobody else figured it out. But that was popping in my head. I remember thinking, I'm going to do something really, really great. And knowing the whole time, I have to wait. It just opportunity. But see, God has greatness in the seeds of so many children of every single color, of every single walk of life, of every single nationality. They're the babies. They're our babies. All of them are our babies. All of them have potential for greatness. All of them have potential to change the world. We have to nurture that. It starts knowledge, understanding, and vision. It starts with God speaks to that thing, that flame called life. He speaks to that thing. So getting back to Harriet Tubman, you know who told Harriet Tubman how to get up north? God did. The Lord told Harriet Tubman how to stay on what side of she didn't know nothing about that, how to stay on what side of the water, how to look at the North Star. God told Harriet Tubman how to get out of slavery. And she listened. And then he sent her back to get some more. And then she came back and brought some more. She didn't have no vote. Didn't nobody vote on her for that. She did it on her own. Study to show yourself approved. Now, everybody doesn't have to get a PhD, but you better get a PH something. We're in wartime. Nobody has the ability to sit down, watch TV, and not open up a book. Every single individual, boots on the ground, needs to know what is my area. And yeah, I told you, you knew this was going to happen because we've been talking about it for weeks. But Everybody has a responsibility to have a call on your life, or what are you going to make a difference in, or what are you going to do? Nobody's sitting down. Everybody's working. What if you not? This is another thing. I'm gonna ask Hammond. Maybe he'll preach on this later. But he said, if you're not an influencer, then you need to be an intercessor. If you're not out there doing it, thought leader, change agent, influencer, if you're not out there having that conversation, and you need to, here in these here United States, every person of color needs to be able to speak perfect English. Your diction should be non-descriptive. Now, I talk any kind of way on the prayer line, but your diction should be non-descriptive. They should not be able to tell what color you are by your diction on the way you speak on the phone. Now, I'm stepping on some toes. Why? Because it costs too much. That we shed blood was shed for you to pick up a book and read it. They were if you spoke perfect English as a slave, they would do something to you. You're supposed to be yes some, no some, stepping and fetching, looking crazy. Not stand up upright and look somebody in the eye. I am a man. I am a woman. I am that I am. This ability to stand up straight and walk on the sidewalk, read books, speak English, speak perfect English, walk into a restaurant and sit down, that stuff's not free. That's how bad it was. You just have to get your food in the back. This stuff ain't free. Don't act like it just popped up, and don't tell your children like it was free, because it wasn't. And out of respect for the ancestors that paid a price for you to get where you are, don't you let this vision die. Don't you let all the people that came before you do it for no reason, for not. Our civil rights have helped everybody in the whole country. This slavery thing is twofold. One fold is an atonement for the sin. People are aware it should never have happened. But on the other side, thank God for the freedom. Now let me understand what it means to be a free nation, to be a free people, to be bank owners, to be industry owners, to be industry leaders. It shouldn't be the first black, should be the first human. Do what you're going to do. There's nobody stopping you. You're free to walk amongst the cabin. There's nobody stopping you from being a super duper PhD, running for Congress, running for city council. There's nobody stopping you from doing anything. Opening up schools, open up libraries, creating after school programs, seeing a thing that needs to happen and going in and changing it, writing down the laws, putting together. It's nobody stopping anybody from doing anything. Stand up and be who God called you to be. Walk up in your call. Walk what he called you to do. So when you go into the presence of God, he's speaking to somebody that knows something about something that you've studied. Lord, I know you told me I'm going to be a congresswoman. I know you told me I'm going to be you should be talking vision to your children from the time they come out, from the time they pop out. Ooh, that looks like Dr. Cindy. Ooh, that looks like Dr. Matthew. This is our doctor. That's the dentist. That's the attorney. That's going to be our congressman. That's calling, speaking life, speaking life, speaking life. And if you're speaking life and you're working on life, let me tell you something. If you're hard working on investing in these children, investing in these neighborhoods, you can set up your own after-school program. You need to come up on third grade math. We're studying on third grade math. We study them. We're going to study. We're going to come together and build these children up. We're going to come together and build us a nation. And when I say a nation, I'm not talking black, white, or green. I'm talking about United States. We're going to build something better. It starts because parents speak life into the children, and parents understand the value of your education. Oh, you will show up in school. You will not miss school because somebody died for your little behind to be up in school. So you will be in school. You will. I don't care about what other kids are doing. You're gonna hit the books because we got to plan. I know the plans I have for you. I know the plans. And if God tells you I know the plans, you sure better know, okay, Lord, are you going to drop something? Let me be ready to catch it. I got to be standing up somewhere to catch it, to catch the vision, to catch the understanding. Sometimes God holds your blessing because you can't even receive it. Maxine was saying that she would be identifying money and there was no place to put it. There was no organization ready to receive $50 million. Because they don't have a plan on what they're going to do with $50 million. Every one of you need to have a plan. If you get $10 million, what are you going to do with it? Yes, question, asking it directly to you. What are you going to do? Somebody gave you $1 million. What do you, besides paying all your bills and buying a house and buy a car, now what? Where's your plan? Where's your plan? What you going to do? What did he say? What did he call you to do? Vision, vision, expand your brain so God can give you something to do bigger than you, bigger than getting into retirement, and bigger. We running around chasing little bitty things. What's the big plan? What's the big vision? You breathing in and out every day. What did God put you on this earth to do? Finish it. Get it done. And it's bigger than something you can conceive in your mind. It's bigger than that. But if you got $1 million, $5 million, what would you do with it? And then I hope nobody's sitting up here saying I would go see a financial advisor to find out how to put it in the bank, taking your talents and burying them. Because you're not going to get it. You should have it already. And let me tell you something. When you have a plan and you already wrote it down, God goes, okay, she's ready. Give her, send it to her. Okay, that one's ready. Send it to her. You should be figuring out how to bust out at all points in time, how to grow up bigger at all points in time. What is this thing? We had this on the executive prayer line, counting out $1 million so it becomes normal. Because $1 million is 10 times $100,000, which is 10 times $10,000, which is 10 times $1,000. It's numbers. It's just money. But aside from that, it's the mechanism, the means to get into that next place. It's some great, incredible, awesome, audacious things can happen if you could be bold enough to study to show yourself approved to even get anywhere close. God will push you in the door. God is a promoter. He is a promoter and a marketer. He gets it done. If you look anywhere like you about to jump into something that you're studying to show yourself approved, he'll go down and say, what is she reading? What is he reading? And what is he reading and honoring me by studying to show himself approved to get ready to do something great? I think he really has faith that this thing is going to happen. We're going to come up behind this one. We're just going to put some more gas in our engine. Okay, put some more gas and let's push them a little bit further. Because it's vision. Vision is the igniter. It moves things along. And God help you if you got a vision and then you know how to get it done. You've got gas, vision, and now I know how to do it. And then not only do I know how to do it, I know how to figure out how to get the money to get it done. Oh, you're doing it. It's happening. It's happening. It's moving. We are not ignorant of the devices of the enemy, and we cannot be ignorant, period. Because if ignorance got me to lay down in a box and have them nail the top on it like trying to kill me, I'm going to know every time you look like you're getting ready to pick up some dirt, my eye is on it. Every time you look at the wood, you might be building something, but don't build nothing for me. Don't start building no hangman's thing over there don't build it for me because I'm watching. And if I'm paying, you got to pay attention. The enemy he's seeking who he can devour. You're not the one. I'm not the one. I'm reading the book. I will show up at the meeting. And not only will I show up at the meeting, I'm going to show up prepared, having read everything, understand how everything is supposed to happen, and then commenting, engaged in the process. People don't fight. People don't try to capture people that are prepared to defend themselves. It's logic. You have to come together and figure out, how do I remain a free man, a free woman in this here country? And secondly, how do I remove the insidious, systemic hatred it's not good for anybody. Hatred is not good for anybody. It needs to not be part of our system. We need to see people across the board. We don't see disabled people. We stick them in the closet like they're invisible. People with mental illness, we treat them a certain kind of way. The people that are super overweight, we treat them a certain kind of way. We want everybody to be a certain kind of look, and then they're acceptable. But people come in all different shapes and sizes and colors and degrees. They come all kind of ways. The love of God, that's us. We're supposed to be tolerant and have empathy and love and compassion for everyone. We are doers. We're the ones that get in there and make a difference. And how in these here United States, demonstration is wonderful, but somebody, us inclusive, what is this? I talked to someone yesterday, Dr. McNeil, And she says, we are planning on how to impact the police departments. People meet together and they talk, how do we impact and cause change? Because they're not all bad, but it's something insidious and that's been collectively hidden. It's called the fraternity of silence, that they're allowing that to keep happening. So that right there is, like I said, when good men fail to act, evil will flourish when good men fail to act. So as long as you're thinking it's okay, then there you go. It's not okay. If one person is oppressed, we are all oppressed because the spirit that created that oppression is amongst us. So that's what has to be rooted out. Stop seeing color. See justice. See God. See the spirit, fruit of the spirit has to be infused in these systems. And then we have to stand on it like it's a wall and let the blessing stand. We have to guard it with our life. Human rights, we have to guard it with our lives. Okay. We're getting ready to read Aaron, because we about Aaron and his and this whole thing getting in the presence of God, because part of the battle is that's where it's going to be. So we're going to read that, and then we're going to get off. And and on Ella, yours is going to be Psalm. I'll take you off of mute when it's time, but you're going to be reading Psalms 91 verse 1. Psalms 91 verse 1. Now everybody else, you got your information. Exodus 28. And let me just say this. There's nothing that can't be done. If God has ordained you to take possession, there's nothing that can't be done, but he requires. God is knowledgeable. Do you know every math, every invention, all of that creation comes from the throne room. He's high. I mean, I don't have a word to describe the knowledge of God and what he can put into your mind. It's some stuff he could tell you if you could recognize the answer. If he gave you the answer to cure for cancer, do you understand the terminology enough to understand how to implement it? No. So you study to show yourself approved, a workman rightly dividing the word, so that when he does give you a brilliant answer, you even know how to read it. If he does give you the wherewithal to do something, you have to be up in a certain position to receive it. There's something to the receiving. It's not just the giving. Am I in a position to receive? Elijah told the woman, go get all the baskets so I can fill them up with oil. If she didn't get the baskets, it wouldn't have been no oil. The baskets for you is your mind. It's your understanding. It's your information. It's the receiving. God told me I'm going to be great. Let me get ready. He's inviting me to something up. Let me prepare myself to get ready. Let me step up. Let me prepare myself for greatness. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. He's trying to bless you.